Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Uncanny Treks where we talk about two time travel films. Two time travel films. I am Bob in Cascadia. That is Matt in the Southland. How the hell are you doing tonight, Matt?
Doing okay, Bob. These movies will make you question a lot of things about your life.
Are you starting to think you're from the future, Matt?
Maybe I am, Bob. Maybe I'm from the
I,
past. I don't know.
I just started to think I would like to hang out with Brad Pitt in a mental institution. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to wind up in one anyway, so what am I beating around the bush for?
Yeah, so you made us watch two films, Bob. The Jetty
Two films.
and 12 Monkeys. And the Jetty is kind of like the super condensed version of 12 Monkeys.
Yeah. People like to say that the Jetty was like the inspiration for 12 Monkeys, which I think is a little cheap. Like 12 Monkeys is a remake of the Jetty. I mean, it's very fleshed out from the Jetty,
Exactly.
but it's a remake.
Yes, if you watch the Jetty before 12 Monkeys like I did, you will be spoiled. Like
Yeah.
you will know what happens at the end of 12 Monkeys.
Yeah. It's not precisely the same, but it is so close that it is going to spoil you a little bit. That's definitely true.
It's
So,
almost, Bob, like you're from the future and you've seen what's happened and you go back and you watch it. It makes you feel like you're in the film. Good job, guys.
yeah. I hadn't considered that angle on it, but that's a good angle. So, the reason.
Let's flush this out just a little bit, Bob.
Okay,
This
let's
means
flow on it.
someone in 1995 watched 12 Monkeys and said, "This shit's so damn good. I'm going to go back in time and make a short film called The Jetty that just ruins the main plot point for everyone."
Matt, what if actually the Sci-Fi Network TV show 12 Monkeys came first, and
Oh
then
shit.
somebody had to make the film to spoil the TV show, and then someone had to make the short film to spoil the film?
You know what? You're onto something, Bob. That kind of makes me want to go watch the series now.
Yeah, I do resent how much this and Picard are making me want to watch the series just because I don't need another 3 seasons of TV in my life right now. But I'm feeling the pull, man. I'm feeling the pull. So we're watching this. I mean, partially it was just a nice excuse to watch it because I like both these movies, and anything that makes an old movie seem briefly relevant, I'm happy to hop on and make Matt record an episode of it. But the showrunner of Star Trek Picard season 3 and the co-showrunner of Star Trek Picard season 2 apparently did showrun the 12 Monkeys show, which neither of us have seen. And there are a lot of references, none that are really that substantial, but there are a lot of references to the show 12 Monkeys and Picard season 3. I think the main things are several actors are reused. Amanda Plummer is the daughter of Christopher Plummer from the 12 Monkeys movie, and then the drug Splinter that Raffi uses, and I believe Picard's episode, season 3, episode 2 is called Splinter, which is also, I think, what the time travel method in 12 Monkeys is called. So I think, are those the main connections, Matt? Did I miss anything?
Those are the main connections, yes. I can't think of anything else that has really stood out.
And I guess this time travel plot in season 2 of Picard was maybe broadly similar to 12 Monkeys, but I think that was more just because time travel plots tend to be broadly similar, not because of like any specific, influence.
Very correct, yes.
Yeah. So the two things we're talking about, one is The Jetty. It's a short film from 1962, directed by Chris Marker, who mostly does documentaries. He did another documentary I like called Without Sun. That's very interesting. And then 12 Monkeys is from 1995. It's directed by Terry Gilliam of Monty Python fame. And, Matt, as we begin our journey, we're just going to talk about both films together. We're going to talk about the similarities across them. But, Matt, as we begin our journey, I just want to tell you there's no escape from time.
Yeah, is that why films, TV, and literature are absolutely obsessed with it?
Must be, Matt. Must be.
Yeah.
So, when you started watching The Jetty, did you get angry at me and be like, fucking Bob, this is a slideshow, not a film?
No, Bob, but when I saw a Criterion Collection at the front of it, I knew it was in for something artsy.
Yeah, yeah. So if people haven't seen the Jetee, which you should definitely watch because it's on YouTube and it's only like 28 minutes, it's a series of like still images, and it does use pans, fades, dissolves, moves the images a little bit. So it does have kind of film effects on top of it, but mostly, and music too, and sound effects, obviously, but mostly it is still images.
With the voiceover, of course. But keep in mind too that a lot of these effects Bob was referring to can be done with like PowerPoint at this point in our current time.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
what if
true.
they
That's
sent what if
true.
they sent back a PowerPoint, Bob?
Uh,
What if they didn't
if
send back a
that's
human? What if they sent back a PowerPoint called the Jetty?
if that's true, then I need to be sent forward in the future to murder whoever invented PowerPoint because PowerPoint is awful. Like PowerPoint is so superfluous. Why
Yeah.
every meeting and every lecture is now supposed to involve PowerPoint makes me want to die.
Yeah, not to go off on too far of a tangent here, Bob, but I have had this discussion with coworkers over and over again. I have literally told them not to do a PowerPoint, and guess what they do? They do a PowerPoint, and no one pays attention.
Yeah. What?
I'm
What?
like, you don't need a PowerPoint for everything you do. But most companies seem to think this. They think you have to have a slideshow, or people are just gonna like slam their head on the desk.
What I'm a big believer in, Matt? Handouts. Make
Yeah,
a
yes,
handout if needed for a talk. One, it's good. It works. It's fine.
yes. A handout with bullet points about what you're
Yes.
talking about.
Yes.
It
Bullet
may be a
points
little
or
area you can write notes.
yeah. Or maybe like a graphic representation, like a concept map, but nothing too crazy, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Nothing too
This,
crazy. So, Matt, do you want to give us the plot summary, which, conveniently enough, can work for either film?
yeah, so both films begin with a young boy on a family outing with a strong memory of a beautiful woman and the shooting of a man. And then they flash forward to an underground post apocalyptic future of concentration camps where an inmate with a vivid memory of the past is coerced into traveling back in time to save the awful post apocalyptic present.
Indeed, indeed. Matt, did you resent this plot summary?
I okay. When we were just going to cover the Jetty, yes, because so hour-long films and television shows they get that A plot B plot treatment. But when we are going scene by scene with a 28-minute short, what does Bob do? Give us this whole like fleshed out thing, and we're going to go piece by piece.
Well, yeah, because the Jetty is art, and most of the things we cover are somewhat less than
X-Men
art.
the animated series is art, Bob. Art is in the eye of the beholder.
Even if that beholder is a 5-year-old strung out on fruit punch and sugary cereal.
Yes, exactly, Bob.
Okay, okay. So Matt, does 12 Monkeys beginning with a text screen that are the ravings of an allegedly paranoid schizophrenic strike you as a little jab at Star Wars?
Not really. It struck me as pure 90s, though, because this was like the norm for a lot of these sci fi movies. I think every film had this crap at the beginning. I just
Yeah,
waited for it. It looks like typed out writing stuff. Like, the
yeah.
style, the font, everything was
Yeah,
just.
usually it's in some like bright green computer font usually.
Yeah, I hate bringing it up, but like, yeah, Terminator 2 had the same thing.
Oh yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Matrix, I think, had the same thing.
Well, in fairness, this predated the Matrix, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You get the
definitely.
idea.
Yeah. So as far as I know, Bruce Willis is in two major time travel movies, 12 Monkeys, and then another one which I hate is called Looper. But both, I guess appropriately for time travel movies, hinge on casting younger versions of Bruce Willis. So we have kid Bruce Willis in 12 Monkeys. Do you think he's a better young Bruce Willis, or is Joseph Gordon-Levitt in Looper a better young Bruce Willis?
The kid in 12 Monkeys looks spot on to me. Like, I knew that's who it was supposed to be when at the moment I saw him. Like, okay, that's the young Bruce Willis there.
Yeah, yeah. Although I will say, as much as I dislike Looper, the Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis do. I wouldn't say they look like each other, but there's an interesting resemblance there.
Yeah, they favor each other to some degree, yes, but
Yeah, that's a really good word choice for it. Yeah, they favor it. So, were you impressed by how much 12 Monkeys recreated a lot of the visual details of the subterranean camps from the stills and the jetty?
yeah, it was. I mean, the future looks pretty bleak, my friend. I would not want to live there.
And,
it's
but
ugh.
yet we're getting closer to it all the time, Matt. We're getting
Yeah, I can't wait to be in my cage to be
Yeah,
volunteered to do something.
I believe. Did you catch the year for 12 Monkeys?
19, no, 20,
No, the
no, what
future
was it? Oh, the
the
future
future
year?
year.
No, what was the
Yeah,
future year?
I believe it was 2035. So we're almost there.
Oh, crap.
We're both going to be in a cage, Matt. We're going to record this podcast from our underground concentration camp cave.
Yeah,
Um,
I did freak out a little bit though. Like the chair they put Bruce Willis in that like goes up really high for some reason to like look at
yeah,
the computer monitors. That was creepy.
yeah, that was very wild. And then we've got in both films we've got the mad scientists with like the raincoats and one. I think you've got a Coke bottle glasses in each of the films. It's just very creepy.
You do, yeah. That gives me Hugo Strange vibes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely good old Hugo Strange. Sadly, none of them dress up as Bruce Willis. That would have
No,
really perfected the Hugo Strange similarity.
yeah,
Did you notice in the Jetty that the whispers of the mad scientist were German?
yeah. I know just enough German to be able to pick up like what some of the words were, but nothing substantial. I knew like the
Yeah,
definite articles and all that stuff to go with it.
yeah, and it's kind of interesting because if you watch it like with the French soundtrack, like they translate the French, but they don't translate the German. And I really do like in both films how they kind of treat time travel as like a matter of the body and psychology and it's hypnosis and syringes and centrifuges and a creepy white sleeping mask. It's a really cool way to do it instead of having like a time machine or a time portal.
Yeah, that mask from the Jetty was pretty gross. It reminded me of the mask Miss Tremon's grandson wears in Firewalk with Me.
Oh, that's a good pull. That's a good pull.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all about that texture. It's like paper mache. It's nasty. Yeah, it's just nasty to look at. Have you seen anything
Yeah.
else though where time travel is used this way, like without a machine or a portal?
I must have, but nothing's coming to mind.
Yeah, nothing came to mind for me either. I kept trying to think back, and I could not think of anything that didn't use either a machine. I think Back to the Future kind of ruined that for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is kind of a dumb answer, but a series that came out like last year, that's part of the Krakoa era of X-Men. It's called X Lives and X Deaths of Wolverine. They sort of do like, if I'm remembering right, it felt like time travel by telepathy.
Oh,
Which was honestly kind of a little weird, and it was a weird series. Like I liked it, but I didn't love it. I don't know. We might talk about it at some point.
okay.
I would say that there is something really funny though about 12 Monkeys as a remake of the Jetty because in the Jetty it's it's Paris, the city of love, the city of light. In 12 Monkeys it's Baltimore than Philly.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Just I guess that's what they could afford. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I say that with love to both Baltimore and Philly. Like I've had great times in both cities,
Yeah.
but I don't know. They're not Paris. They're not. We also get some nice parallels in 12 Monkeys, where the future concentration camps, and the Baltimore jail look, of a piece, which is, not unrealistic in 2022 either, or 2023 either. I would say. So Matt, we get Bruce Willis into the present. People think he's crazy. He first gets sent to the Baltimore jail, then he gets sent to a Baltimore insane asylum where Madeline Stowe is playing the shrink who is treating him slash slowly falling in love with him. But Matt, did you catch who was playing Madeline Stowe's boss?
No, who was it, Bob?
It was good old Frank Gorshin, Matt.
See, okay, I could recognize his, like I looked at him, I was like that reminds me of somebody, but I could not place who it was. Frank
Yeah,
Gorshin,
yeah.
Riddler
The
fame.
Riddler from Batman 66, if people don't remember the name. Very, very distinctive, very great performance as the Riddler. Although, Matt, do you want to really feel old?
Sure.
We are as far away from the movie 12 Monkeys as the movie 12 Monkeys was from Batman 66.
So yeah, that makes us pretty damn old. Shit.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to die soon. That's what I'm saying. Um,
Thanks.
Yeah. Speaking of like sinister character actors, I did want to kind of jump us ahead and keep going. We get Christopher Plummer as like Brad Pitt's father, right? And this sort of sinister scientist, and he's a great Southern drawl. I was really impressed by it actually, and I'd forgotten. I was looking up his filmography. Obviously, we know him from Star Trek, we know him from other things, but I'd forgotten he played the evil Reverend in the '80s Dragnet movie, which I think both of us loved as children.
Yeah, it was a pretty good film. That's the one with
Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd, yes, Dan Aykroyd was in that. It's like the only other film I remember him from, other than Coneheads and Ghostbusters.
Blues Brothers.
Oh yeah, Blues Brothers. Shit, he's in a lot of stuff.
So one thing I really adore in the Jetty is that it uses what I presume are photographs of like ruined cities from World War II aerial bombardment, and it uses that to represent like a nuclear World War III. And then we see 12 Monkeys sort of reference this very cleverly by several times having like a close up on a painting in the film and then panning the camera out. Like when we first jump to 1990, we're in the Baltimore Art Museum and there's a close up on this early Italian Renaissance painting, The Ideal City. And then later, when Bruce Willis wakes back up in the future for a second time, we have a close up on this 1864 painting called The Valley of Yosemite. So just really kind of cool way that like the Jetty represents the post-apocalyptic war or the apocalyptic war, and then 12 Monkeys sort of references the technique of the Jetty, but with famous art instead of devastation pictures.
Yeah, see, in the Jetty, I was they were creepy as fuck, but I kind of guess that's the whole point of it. They're just, it's awful to look at war torn, their impression of World War III. But I did wonder where the images originated because they were just too detailed to be like a model or something like that. Like something
Yeah.
that they just created for this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Did you recognize our sinister character with red hair in 12 Monkeys?
I did not know.
So he's David Morse. He's a television character actor. I think he was probably most famous for Saint Elsewhere, which I never watched, but he's on the HBO show Treme, which I really love a lot. And usually he's just bald like you,
Yeah.
but him having what I assume was a red wig was very weird and off-putting. It was very interesting, but I did think that 12 Monkeys did a great job of making both red-haired David Morris and Bruce Willis in a disguise look like Brad Pitt. Like when it's been a long time since I'd seen 12 Monkeys. And so when I kept seeing these flashbacks to Bruce Willis's childhood, I assumed he was like watching Brad Pitt, but it's Brad Pitt's not involved at all. He's watching himself in disguise and David Morris in red hair.
It's what you call a red herring, Bob.
Oh, goddamn. You just owned me with that, Matt. Oh, goddamn. You just owned me.
Well, they did do a fantastic job of it though, because I would consider rewinding to see like the first time we see this character, because they keep flashing back throughout the film to the airport scene, and I thought the first time I saw it, I thought the guy with the red hair was Brad Pitt, and then when he turned around in that final scene, you're
Yeah.
like, that's not him. Like,
Yep,
what the hell?
It's David Morse. It's
It's
David
crazy.
Morse.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting in the Jetty that we describe it as like a post-apocalyptic film or a time travel film, but actually most of the film is just kind of taken up with it being like a ghost story romance. It sort of like pauses the science fictional elements for like a long period. I would say, I guess maybe about the halfway mark, maybe even a little before the halfway mark, and it's just like a ghost story romance. It's an interesting choice.
I feel like 12 Monkeys does the same thing too, but just like a little faster. The whole romantic relationship between Bruce Willis and the psychiatrist escalates rather quickly, especially because
It
she goes from
does.
being a kidnapped victim to, like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, he was telling the truth, so obviously I'm in love with him. Like, what the fuck? Like, but that was the 90s. That's how shit happens.
Well, but like they say in the film, that's actually pretty psychologically realistic.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, she's fallen in love with her captor.
Yeah.
And also
Well,
the whole thing, but also the other part that we need to fit here too is, Bruce Willis is an action hero.
yeah,
Always.
yeah.
He's always cast as that. So throughout this film, yes, we have the time travel piece, we have the romance piece, but there's also him beating the shit out of people in between all of this,
Yeah.
usually in her honor.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Bruce Willis wailing on random homeless people and pimps to protect Madeline Stowe is a very big part of the film.
which was missing in the Jetty, Bob. That whole piece was missing in the Jetty. That's what the Jetty was missing.
It needed more senseless violence
Yeah.
against homeless people and pimps. That's really what it needed. I will say though, I had not remembered this, and I thought this was like really really clever in 12 Monkeys how they switch the characters where it's like Bruce Willis is now convinced he's crazy, and it's like you know in his delusion is getting the scientist to send him back to the present, but only as a way to escape what he thinks is his delusion, while Madeline Stowe has like come to believe him. I thought that kind of reversal of their paths or their roles was actually really funny.
And see, that part of the plot too had me questioning if they were going to go in the same direction as the Jetee.
Yeah, yeah. And it also felt like I'm really glad 12 Monkeys didn't go this direction, but it feels like it could have gone with a much more sort of ambiguous, like, whoa, maybe Bruce Willis just is crazy sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. And exactly. That's why with the ending the way it is, it's just like okay, we get it. it's
Yeah. Yeah. So, Matt, did you find it very poignant that in the Jetty, the protagonist chooses nostalgia and death over the future and an easy life?
Is this why we watch X-Men the animated series, Bob?
I probably best not to dwell on that, Matt. At least we get too depressed. And then I will say, yeah, before we move into talking about like our favorite images from the films, the one criticism I would make of 12 Monkeys, I could have done without the final shot being the close up on Bruce Willis's as a kid's eyes. I didn't think that was the best way to end a very good movie.
I don't know. I don't know how were they supposed to end it, Bob? Like
I don't any way but that. I don't know.
yeah.
Just, and granted, obviously it was a callback to the Jetty, but I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they went that direction. It's just
Yeah, but I don't know. To me, like I can't explain it in rational terms, but to me, like the image didn't bother me in the Jetty, but it's felt wrong or a off note to me in 12 Monkeys for reasons I can't fully articulate.
is it because the child wasn't very attractive, Bob?
Well, Matt, I was gonna put in I was gonna say in the notes that he was a particularly ugly child, but then I was afraid that was gonna raise all sorts of questions that I really didn't want the podcast to go down. But
Yeah, yeah,
since you've raised it, yeah, the kid is ugly, man. The kid is
yeah.
really ugly.
He's got a wonky eye, so zooming in on it just didn't help. But I think Bruce Willis has a wonky eye, so that's maybe they were just trying to be accurate.
But yet Bruce Willis is a very handsome man, Matt. It's
Yeah,
interesting. It's
yeah.
interesting.
Ugly duckling syndrome, whoever that kid is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bother to look up the kid's filmography, but I don't think he had much of one because he was such an ugly kid.
Well, he's younger than us too, so he's got that going for him.
Have I ever told you about the story of the friends of my friends who have a really ugly baby?
No.
So friends of like a married couple who are friends of a married couple that are my friends had a baby a few years ago. The baby's since grown. He's not ugly anymore, but he was a really ugly baby. And so after he was born, the first married couple that had the ugly baby sent a picture of the ugly baby to my friends. And this threw the married couple that were my friends into a conundrum because they're like, man, that's an ugly baby. But they didn't want to say that. So, they just texted back something generic like, oh, look at him. He's so cute. To which the married couple replied, you fucking liars. We know he's ugly. My other favorite ugly baby story is an old podcast I used to listen to. They stopped podcasting so much because it was a husband and wife because they had a baby. And when they did podcast after having the baby, the husband was just so in love with having the baby. He just talked about all the time on the podcast about how cute the baby was. And at one point, the wife is just like, yeah, but I suppose that we're genetically predisposed to think that, so we don't eat them.
That's awful too. Jesus, but it's true. Yes, it is true though. That's
It's
the weird
true.
part.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ugh.
All right. So, what's your favorite image from the Jetty, Matt?
Probably when he meets the people from the future.
Yeah, yeah. I love. I mean, granted, this was before the '70s because the film came out in the early '60s, but I love how they look like they're off like a '70s album cover for like Queen.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if that inspired that cover.
I wonder that too. Yeah, yeah. I wonder that too. Um, for me, I really love how the rebuilt future Paris in the Jetty looks like the lines of the redwood tree that they're looking at earlier to kind of like map out time. I thought that was very cool. And I'd also totally forgotten that the Jetty gets that device of looking at the redwood tree from the Hitchcock film Vertigo, which was 4 years before the Jetty. And, obviously 12 Monkeys kind of references that because Bruce Willis and Madeline Stowe hide out in a 24-hour Hitchcock screening And so we see that scene from Vertigo on the screen, and then Bruce Willis goes to sleep and he wakes up and he's in disguise and Madeline Stowe's in disguise and the Birds is playing, which I thought was cool.
That was a really cool scene. On top of that, too, Bruce Willis probably smelled bad, and he wouldn't shut up during the film. So
Yeah, yeah.
I would have hated to be any of the patrons in that theater, especially the dude behind him that kept shushing them over and over and over again.
Yeah, yeah. Although I feel like if you go to a 24-hour screening, that's a little more acceptable. I'm not, it's still kind of rude, but in a 24-hour screening, it's a little more acceptable, I feel like.
Yeah. Also, I feel like Madeline's character completely shifted after that scene.
Yeah. Well, have you seen Vertigo?
That's where it ends up. They're in the lighthouse at the end.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, that's yeah. I've seen that.
Um, I mean, I think you're right that her character shifts, but I think they're a little bit trying to justify it with with the Vertigo stuff,
They
right?
are that. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. So, what was your favorite image from the 12 Monkeys, Matt?
Probably they show the giraffes running across the bridge. It didn't look like amazing. Like it wasn't with modern technology now. They can do that shit easily. But I don't know how they did it back then. But they made it look relatively realistic. Like it seemed like it could have actually been happening. I do not think they took actual giraffes and ran them across the bridge, but I also don't want to look up how they did it.
Some things are best left
Yeah,
unknown.
we'll leave the magic to whatever they did. It was
Yeah.
cool though.
Yeah, kind of on that animal kick. I was really tickled by how 12 Monkeys like recreates all the museum animals from the Jetty by having like Bruce Willis go onto the mission to the surface early in the film, and a lot of the same animals from the Jetty have like taken over the surface and are roaming the streets of and then later we have them roaming the streets of Philly, the animals. I thought that was all like really cool and visually interesting. In the Jetty, where we have like the circular end where we find out that the protagonist as a child witnessed his own death. Did you see that coming, or was that a surprise?
Oh, I saw it coming like a mile away because the Jetty spoiled it for me.
I mean, on the whole, would you have rather have seen 12 Monkeys without seeing the Jetty first?
I mean, I don't know. The only thing about the Bruce Willis film, I think I said this earlier, was that the him questioning reality, like if he which was a crazy person in mid film,
Mm-hmm.
that made it interesting enough to where I was still ingrained in the plot. I'm still interested in what was going on.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. And there are enough differences and obviously like elaboration that, like you were saying earlier, you're not exactly sure if 12 Monkeys is going to go the same way as the Jetty, but yeah. Out of curiosity, you're the big Quantum Leap fan of the two of us. Any thoughts on these two films in relation to that show?
I mean, I really didn't put the two and two together, but you absolutely right to make that connection. Like the whole point of Sam Beckett's experiment in Quantum Leap was to travel back into the past, but once he's there, he's stuck in the past and he realizes he has to like change things. He has this greater calling. There's more religion involved with it, I think, than what this implies.
So I haven't seen Quantum Leap since I was a kid. Like, what's the mechanic of the time travel in Quantum Leap?
They created some kind of like it's a portal basically.
Oh,
Or
okay.
they call it the I think they call it the quantum leap accelerator or something. I don't know, but it looks like a
Oh,
portal.
okay.
They
Okay.
go in it.
Interesting.
He goes in it. He gets stuck in the past, but he takes over the bodies of other people in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah. I remember that part of the gimmick at
And
least. Yeah.
well, there's also more to the gimmick where like apparently they switch.
So the person he takes over is in the future.
Yeah, they're in like a holding cell in the future.
Do they remember the holding cell after he finishes with them?
Apparently not. Yeah, whatever changes he makes, stay or remain, but anything that they witness is never brought back up.
Huh. That's interesting. Maybe a little
Yeah.
grim.
Yeah, it's very grim.
Did you ever consider the similarities between Quantum Leap and Dead Man?
Yeah, they're very similar. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right. So Matt, what other Terry Gilliam films have you seen?
Monty Python, The Holy Grail, The Meaning of Life, Time Bandits, which,
Is Time Bandits any good?
if I'm remembering correctly, it's funny. I think that's the one that starts with a pirate ship invading an office.
I mean, that's certainly that's the DVD and the poster is a big pirate ship.
Yes, it's kind of a fun movie, but I don't think it's as memorable as the other two. Everyone's
Okay.
seen Holy Grail, Meaning of Life at some point.
Yeah, and I think he just wrote and was in The Meaning of Life. I don't think he directed The Meaning of Life. He
He
just
didn't.
directed The
Yeah,
Holy Grail.
yeah.
Yeah,
He wrote. He
yeah.
wrote. Yeah, he was a writer on all three, though, I believe.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I think that's right. And then, like, I don't know, man. The first time I saw Holy Grail, I thought it was funny, but like, I I heard too many people quote it in high school and college, and burnt out on Monty Python pretty hard. You know,
Yeah, the cult following is annoying, but that's like any film that has a cult following.
it's true. It's true. Yeah, I would honestly say that the only Gillum films I really like are this and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. So you've never seen Fear and Loathing?
I haven't. No.
Oh man, maybe we should watch that sometime. It's wild. It's fun. Um, also, the whole like QAnon conspiracy theory about adrenochrome.
No. What's adrenochrome? I
Oh
don't know what
man,
that is.
so you know the like like the basic QAnon theory, right? Is that the world is run by an elite cabal of like pedophiles, right?
Yes, I've heard that part, and they like
Yeah, and
drink the blood of them and stuff. Yeah.
well, so it's sometimes it's drink the blood, sometimes it's like they want to harvest the spinal fluid of the children, which is like adrenochrome, which is like I think a real thing, but it doesn't do what the QAnon conspiracy theory says it would do. But the idea is like if the children are being like abused or stressed, then like the adrenochrome is better, like at like veal, I guess, in the QAnon conspiracy theory. But in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, they do adrenochrome to get high. And so now QAnon people like love the movie and they're like, see, look, this is the sickos telling us what they're up to.
Oh my god, that's disturbing.
It, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
wild world we live in, my friend.
yeah. You have delved deeper into these conspiracy theories than I have. I just get what I hear sometimes on the news.
No family members? You don't have any? You don't have a single family member who's a QAnoner?
I do, but I just don't listen to them. like,
Yeah. One of my favorite aunts is big into the QAnon stuff. It
yeah.
produces some interesting conversations. um, so yeah, I mean I've seen other Gillum films.
Well, here's the problem, Bob. Are they conversations or just lectures? Because that's the issue I usually have.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good at trolling her.
Okay,
My
good.
favorite was the time I told her like, Auntie, we both agree that a cabal of pedophiles rules the world. I just think they're bipartisan.
That's awful.
Also, like I always bring up how like Trump was in the Epstein Black Book, was on the
Yeah,
Lolita Express. Yeah, they don't
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
They don't like that. Yeah, I've seen a few other Gillum films besides 12 Monkeys and Fear and Loathing, and I didn't really like any of them. Like I've seen Holy Grail, I've seen Brazil, which people really love, which maybe I should rewatch, but really didn't hit me. And then I've seen Brothers Grimm, which I think people mostly agree is terrible. And then I've seen Tideland, which people like, but none of those really did anything for me.
Yeah, on Internet Movie Database, Brazil's like the film he's most known for, which I've never seen, but I
Yeah,
may.
people say it's one of the best films of all time. I wasn't feeling it, but I also don't really like dystopias, so that's part of it.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So Matt, in the spirit of our two films, what's your favorite time travel narrative?
So Bob, I'm gonna say this is Back to the Future, but you got to remember I'm a pleb. I'm,
Hey man, the plebs make the world go round. We can't all be aristocrats of taste, Matt.
yeah, but my favorite novel with time travel is it's called the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle.
I've heard of that, but I don't think I know what it is. What is it?
Really good. Um, it's written by Stuart Turton. Basically it's set in this like one area, and
Hmm.
the the idea is that this person is experiencing what's happening in all the different locations within the area through her deaths within a single
Mm.
day.
Mm.
So
Sounds very Groundhog Day, but more macabre.
it is, yes, exactly. And you kind of need a piece of notebook paper as you're reading it, or you're not going to be able to keep up. But
Nice.
it's fascinating.
I'm not a big time travel guy, but I might try to give that a read.
Yeah, I made my brother read it, and he liked it. So
Yeah, I would definitely say as far as like time travel movies go, let's see, these two like the Jetee and 12 Monkeys are definitely two of my favorites. And I usually don't love time travel films. Like, there's not a lot that come to mind that I really like. But one other one I really do like, and also I should make you watch sometime, is a real mind bender. It's like a Spanish slasher film, but it's also about time travel, and it's called Time Crimes. Or the Spanish title is so cool, Los Kronos Crimes.
Los Cronos Crimes.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe
What was
maybe
the name?
we'll
What was the
watch
name
that
of
sometime.
the film with Rocky in it? Sylvester Stallone. Who
Oh, not Demolition Man.
it is Demolition Man. That is it. Okay, that
Oh
was about.
yeah, I guess that's only sort of a time travel movie, but that movie fucking rocks, man. I
Yeah.
love that movie.
Is that the one? Is that a time travel film?
Well, it's time travel in the sense that he and Wesley Snipes get put in like cryo sleep and then get awoken in like 2020 or whatever.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That's right.
There are a few other like action 90s action movie time travels. Like obviously you brought up the Terminator, and then I know there's a few others. Like I think Jean-Claude Van Damme did
I
one.
think that's the one I'm actually thinking of, but I'm confusing it with the Sylvester Stallone film. I think it's called like Time
Is it Time Cop?
Time Cop. That's it. Time Cop. You got it. I'm
I
getting
don't think
Time
I've
Cop
ever
mixed
actually
up with
seen
Demolition
Time
Man.
Cop, or if I did see it, I was so young, it didn't register. But probably I wouldn't have been allowed to watch it because it's an R.
Yeah, Time Cop is the film I'm actually thinking of, not Demolition Man. But at the same time, though, like a lot of these films, I didn't actually watch. I just remember there being like really shitty Nintendo games of them. So it's like,
Oh man, you want to know something wild about Time Cop?
what?
Uh, it was based on a story that appeared in the Dark Horse Comics anthology, and it was the screenplay was co-written by the publisher of Dark Horse and one of Dark Horse's writers who did a lot of like the early '90s stuff. Yeah, I didn't realize Time Cop was a comic book movie.
Man, could have been, could have revitalized Dark Horse as a a game changing player in the
Well, I mean,
cinematic movie universe.
Dark Horse does good. I mean, they got Hellboy, they got Black Hammer.
Oh yeah, they got Hellboy. I've heard about Hellboy. That's Dark Horse, yeah.
Actually, now I kind of want to watch Time Cop because it's directed by Peter Hymas, who's one of my favorite science fiction directors. He did three like really good movies. I don't know if you've seen any of them, but he did. There's a movie called Capricorn One that's about a conspiracy theory to fake a Mars landing. That's really good. And then he did a western set on like a moon of Jupiter starring Sean Connery called Outland. That's really good. And then he did the sequel to 2001 A Space Odyssey, which I know that sounds awful, and obviously it's nowhere near as good as 2001, but it's actually a good movie.
Is that the one that's like 2010 or something like that?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember. I was looking. I saw that earlier.
I believe the subtitle for 2010 is The Year We Make Contact.
Why am I having trouble pulling Time Cop up on Internet Movie Database?
It's one word.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. Kind of like Time
Oh,
Crimes.
there we.
It's
Yeah, there we go.
time Cop and Time Crimes. It's all one word. Kind of makes me wonder if Time Crimes being one word is a homage to Time Cop.
Well, apparently it has sequels as well, which is even funnier to me.
Oh,
All right.
that doesn't sound
Yeah.
inspiring. That does not spark joy.
Well,
All right.
I'm glad they didn't make a sequel to 12 Monkeys. That's
Well, I mean, they did make a like a 3-season TV show about it.
yeah, but is it a sequel or is it just like a reimagining or
I think it's a reimagining,
yeah,
is my
yeah.
understanding. I could be. I know very little about it except for the same showrunner as Picard season 3 and a lot of actors from Picard season 3. And my boy Eddie told me it was good years ago, and I was just like, I'm going to watch it, Eddie, but god damn it, it doesn't sound good. All right. Well, have we wandered far enough off the point, Matt?
Sure, I think we've wandered far enough off of our Jetty and 12 Monkeys coverage.
All right. Well, this has been the Jetty and 12 Monkeys, or the two time travel movies coverage. We are part of Uncanny Treks. Enjoy this along with our Star Trek Picard coverage. I am Bob in Cascadia. That is Matt in the Southland. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks for listening.